Hey guys, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you a few ways how to orient yourself in the wilderness. So the method number one, and for me it's the easiest way what you can use for the orientation in some survival situation in the wilderness, on camping or anything similar to this, is this little guy, sun. I think that sun is the easiest way what you can use for orientation, and now I'm gonna tell you how. So what you need to do is that you need to watch the sun for a few minutes, maybe at least like 20 minutes, and you need to find out the trajectory of the sun. And when you find this trajectory, you will be able to detect east, because that's where is sunrise. And that's very important thing, because when you are facing east, always on your left hand side is north. That's the one information that you need to keep in your mind, because that can actually save you in many situations. So now you know that you are facing east, on your left side is north. That means that on your right side is south, and behind you is west. And that's it, very simple, very easy. But for this method you have to stay in one place and watch the sun for a few minutes to be able to see the trajectory of the sun. But in some situations when you don't have time to watch the sun, there are also other methods, and those I'm going to show you now. For orientation you can also use stars and constellations. You will need to find the Little Dipper, which is part of the constellation Ursa Minor. To find this, first try to look for the Big Dipper, which is part of the constellation Ursa Major. This constellation is larger, more visible, and there is greater awareness of it. Then, right next to it, you can find the Little Dipper. At the end of its tail, you will see a star that is more illuminated. That's Polaris. This star is always in the same position, and the whole sky appears to rotate around it because it is precisely located near the North Celestial Pole. This is valid in the Northern Hemisphere. However, if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, you will need to find the constellation Southern Cross. This constellation often appears on the flags of countries like Australia, New Zealand, and also other Pacific nations. On a clear sky, it will look like this. Once you find it, imagine a line extending along the long axis of the cross, then drop it straight down to the horizon, which will give you a southern direction. The stars are not the only object that can be used for orientation. Another great option is to use moon. You're gonna do this when it's a crescent moon, and it's gonna look like this. When you imagine a line that connects both edges of the horns, extend this line and drop it straight down to the horizon, which will show you south when you are in the Northern Hemisphere. If you are in the Southern Hemisphere, this line will show you north. Well, if you get lost, you will probably need to find a direction. This one experiment is actually very useful, and it actually surprised me that it actually works, and it's pretty accurate. But to make this bushcraft compass, we're gonna need two things. So first thing you're gonna need is a needle. Well, yeah, probably now you're gonna ask me, why would you have a needle with you when you are out there in the nature, hiking, camping? Well, you probably will not have a needle with you, but you can also use a hair clip from your or your girlfriend's or your friend's hair. Or if you are using a wristwatch, you can use that little metal piece which is connecting your wristwatch with your watch strap. Second thing you're gonna need is a magnet. Well, that's even worse, right? Why would you have a magnet with you in the nature? Also, you probably will not have a magnet with you, but one thing that you probably always have with you is this: earphones. And in those earphones, in this little part, there are magnets, so you can take it out and use it. So the easiest way how to get this magnet out of this earphone is probably to smash it on the rock. This is the part you need. So you're just gonna take this part off. That's just the little plastic. And look, it's magnetic. Then you need to find a still water. Something like this would be perfect. And the last thing we need is a leaf. So now you take the needle and you're gonna wrap the needle on the magnet for approximately 1 minute. If you are using hair clip or something else, maybe you will need to do it for 2 or 3 minutes. The needle start to be magnetic, and that's what we need to make a bushcraft survival compass. Now look at this, we just magnetize the needle. Next step, very carefully you're gonna put the leaf on still water. Now you're gonna slowly put the needle on the leaf. The loop of the needle should point the tip of the leaf. And look what's happening. The leaf is slowly turning and it's gonna point the north. It's turning very slowly, so I'm gonna speed it up for you and I'm gonna edit this video so you can clearly see how the needle with the leaf turned and point the north. Look at that. This is the loop of the needle and the tip of the leaf, and it's pointing that the north is that way. And now look at this. North. It's pointing that way. It's pretty accurate, right? So that magnet inside those earphones is not very strong. It's actually pretty weak. So if you want that leaf to turn faster, you just need to rub the needle longer on that magnet, or if you have a bigger, stronger magnet which has a more magnetic power, that's even better. Okay, so now I charge the needle more and the leaf is turning much faster. And that's how you're gonna find the way out of the woods. It's a pretty funny experiment, but it's also pretty accurate. You can try it by yourself and you will see. So another thing that you can do is to check on which side of trees and rocks is growing moss. Because moss is basically hiding from the sun. In some locations it's only growing on the north part side of the trees and rocks. But this method is not bulletproof, and in some situations you can rely on it. So when you are in a place where you can see a lot of moss around you, just check if it's growing on one side of the trees and on one side of the rocks. If yes, then it can actually indicate north, but if don't, then you just can't rely on it. It also depends on the environment around you. For example, the place where I'm standing right now, I just can't rely on moss because here moss is growing on all parts of rocks, and that's actually because of environment. So that means that it can actually influence many things like hills around you, if there is a forest around you, also the way how sun is shining in the location. So you just need to check if the moss is growing on one side of the trees or no. Some flowers, like sunflowers, tend to face east toward the sunrise, which can provide a general indication of direction. But this method, similar to using moss, is not foolproof. Rather than rely on it, combine it with another techniques.